We're following a bush trail, but we're not hot on the heels of poachers, illegal hunters, or bandits. We're at Jabulani Safari on Limpopo's 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 Private Game Reserve on an entirely different quest. Today, we're on the lookout for dung, specifically elephant dung. Majestic and revered, their size puts fear even in lions. But who would have thought that from the guts of these African elephants would come this, an elephant dung-infused gin? In early 2018, Western Cape couple Leslie and Paula Ainsley were struck by an unusual business opportunity while on safari.
And I suddenly was like, oh, could you use elephant dung in the production of gin?
Back from their trip, they called a friend at a wildlife resort to find out.
And I just said, would it be possible, please, to obtain a couple of balls of dung? And then she said, I'll courier it to you.
She couriered dung.
Thank you very much.
Before revealing what the substance was, they then asked friend and renowned distiller Roger Jorgensen if it could be infused with gin.
Then he tastes it, and I'm like, now I'm dead. And then he goes, you can definitely make gin from this, but what is it? And I went, well, it's dried and sanitized elephant dung. And then you kind of wait for the penny to drop, whether he's going to say, okay, get out of here now, you really are crazy.
He didn't think they were crazy at all, and the first bottle of Indlovu gin, made with dung collected from reserves across the country, was sold in late 2018.
When we made this gin, one of the things we were very determined was that it had to contribute in some way. We donate 15% of our profits to 𝗏𝗏.
𝗏𝗏 is a charity looking after orphaned elephants. The Ainsleys' second offering, Jabu Gin, is infused with dung gathered exclusively from their elephants at Jabulani Safari. Initially, 𝗏𝗏 founder and Jabulani Safari owner, Adine Roeder, was skeptical.
I scooped poop a lot, okay? So your hand, everything smells. I wasn't sure about this gin, you know, and how it will taste and smell.
But tasting it for the first time, she was pleasantly surprised. There's a lot more at stake than cocktails and dung. This drink is helping support elephants orphaned by poachers at a time the scourge is showing little sign of being brought under control. The COVID pandemic has crippled ivory supply networks, but groups fighting international organized crime say demand is still alarmingly high. There's been a spike in the black market ivory price. It's nearly doubled from around 12,000 rand per kilogram to more than 23,000 rand in 2020. And as lockdowns ease, poaching is expected to intensify, endangering many of South Africa's roughly 26,000 elephants. It's bad news for conservationists already spending thousands of rands to secure elephants in protected areas. As the hunger for ivory grows, Roeder is bracing for another increase in elephant orphans. Now, how does 𝗏𝗏 actually benefit from the gin?
A lot of the expenses goes into staff salaries. That's one of the biggest costs. But then also the food costs, all the milk supplement that we have to buy.
Taking care of young calves is particularly expensive. In 2020, we introduced you to 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, an orphaned albino baby elephant who was found with injuries caused by a snare.
She came in with three sort of factors that were against her. Firstly, this terrible snare wound. Secondly, her color, you know, very susceptible to the sun, being sunburnt. And then thirdly, to get her onto the right milk formula, because it varies from one individual to the next.
As it happens, dung was central to 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃's recovery.
We take the fresh dung and we actually squeeze it out. There's a lot of fluid in there. That fluid and the dung contains the natural microorganisms that you'd find in an elephant gut. So they call it transformation, where you're actually supplementing the gut with natural bacteria.
And what is gin making without a desire to supplement the gut? And here they have the same interest as 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 in the raw material.
So if you see any broken branches, just pointed to me, yeah?
We're on a dung collection outing with expert animal tracker 𝗃𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗶𝘆. They might be familiar with people, but rescued elephants are still dangerous.
I would suggest that we stay closer to each other, you know. No one is taking his or her own direction. Okay, otherwise you might bump onto an elephant. But remember, they still remain wild animals.
So what are we looking for this morning, Leslie? What do you want us to find?
So we need fresh elephant dung. What we don't want is the elephant dung like that, which is old and has been here for a long time.
It appears we're getting closer.
And see. Elephants are the only animals that will feed on the bark of certain trees. So
Sure.
you see, he just chewed off the bark.
Okay.
Well, the bark is containing a lot of moisture, the minerals as well.
Lots of things were happening here. Broken branches everywhere.
Yeah, there is an elephant.
Fantastic.
And there is another one behind him.
Okay.
Completely undigested.
Minutes later, we hit pay dirt.
So this is exactly what we're looking for. And you smell that? That's just a felt.
Yes. We get down and dirty.
Oh, these things are heavy, guys. Not even the one hand is big enough. So we've been collecting dung for a few minutes now, and this is how much we've managed to bag. Not nearly enough for an Ndlovu production cycle, but I think I've earned a shot.
Later, Leslie shows us how we go from this to this. The unique gin recipe was developed on this copper still, using cane spirit as the base alcohol and berries and citrus for flavor.
So you'd place your base alcohol, your cane spirit, in the still, and you'd then put the botanicals in the net and you'd seal it.
If we weren't in the bush, we'd light a flame to heat the alcohol. The steam draws out the flavors and the gin drips into the collection cup. As for the special ingredient,
Tell me the difference between this and that.
This is dung that we haven't even washed yet. It's still bound a bit, so it's almost like the dirt's acting as a glue within that. So this is the elephant dung that we've washed, and it's a beautiful, fluffy material.
So nice.
It is. We almost make a tea bag, and we place this into the tea bag and drop it into the gin, and we let it infuse direct, so then that's directly infused into the gin.
with this recipe, the Ainsleys were going for a liquor with an earthy aroma and hints of the various botanicals favored by elephants, such as the bark of marula trees.
Thank you. What may have seemed like a gimmick at first has surpassed all expectations. Ndlovu Gin is now recognized as a top player in a saturated, competitive craft gin market. Cheers.
The couple's gamble paid off. By 2019, their gin was already winning awards, but there have been some hurdles along the way.
When we brought out our pink gin, we brought that out in the March, and we had the first hard lockdown in the April, and then we brought out our citrus gin in the November, and we had the next hard lockdown in December. And so we've decided, for the sake of the country,
Thank you.
we are not going to bring out a new gin this year.
I have found them. I have found the reasons for alcohol bans.
Adine says the gin is an eccentric take on elephant conservation, but she is grateful for the income which funds a lot of herds research.
For 2022, we'll have to look, is it possible maybe to split some of the group members? Because as the herd grows, you'll need to look at other options.
𝗀𝗃𝗿𝗃, now 2 years old, is one of the orphans benefiting from the collaboration between herd and the distillers.
Now that we're here, we can't not ask you about how 𝗀𝗃𝗿𝗃 is doing.
She's a bubble of energy, and the whole herd accepted her. She's actually the one, everyone comes to her during the day, you know, spend some time with her. She's doing amazing.
And her dung is also among the stockpile infused in Ndlovu gin.
It's a wonderful model that the elephants provide the dung, and we collect the dung and we make the gin, and then the gin sells and we give back to the elephants.